Worst story. Am I the prick for kicking my mother-in-law out of our house after she refused to call our son by his name? By Reddit user Little Peach. Am I the prick for kicking my mother-in-law out of our house after she refused to call our son by his name? My husband, 34M, and I, 31F, recently had our first child, a son we named Elijah. We put a lot of thought into his name, we loved the meaning, and it just felt right. My mother-in-law, 62F, had no strong opinions about it at first. She didn't gush over it, but she also didn't object. Or so we thought. The first time she met Elijah at the hospital, she looked at him and said, "Oh, little David, you're so perfect." I thought I misheard her, so I ignored it. But then she said it again. I asked her, "Who's David?" And she just smiled and said, "Oh, it just suits him better." I was too exhausted from labor to argue, but over the next few weeks, she kept calling him David, texting us things like, "How's my little David doing today?" Or "Give David a kiss for me." I told her, firmly, that his name is Elijah. She laughed and said, "Oh, I know. But I think he just feels like a David." Neither my husband nor I know anyone named David. It's not a family name. There's no sentimental reason behind it. It's just a completely random name she decided to call my child, despite us telling her not to. At first we tried to let it go hoping she'd stop if we ignored it. But it only got worse. When we FaceTimed her, she'd coo at him saying, "Grandma loves you, David." She even started knitting a baby blanket with the name David embroidered on it. The final straw was when she came over for a family dinner and kept referring to him as David in front of everyone. My sister-in-law asked, "Wait, why do you keep calling him David?" And mother-in-law just laughed and said, "Because that's his name to me." That's when I lost it. I said, "No, his name is Elijah, and if you can't respect that, you don't need to be here." She rolled her eyes and tried to wave me off, but I wasn't having it. I told her to leave. She looked shocked, but she left without much of a fight. Now my husband is upset with me. He agrees that his mom was being weird and disrespectful, but he thinks kicking her out was too extreme, and that I should have just let it go. Mother-in-law is now playing the victim, telling everyone that I'm keeping her grandson from her over a harmless nickname. Some family members think I overreacted. Others agree that her behavior was bizarre. I don't know, was I really in the wrong for putting my foot down? Am I the prick? Now on to the comments. Reddit user, All Mischief Managed said, "Not the prick. This is hella weird behavior, and your feelings are valid. I also find it odd that your husband thinks you overreacted, but you literally just told her to use the correct name or to leave. It sounds like she made her choice and now she's upset with you." The original poster replied, "It really is, and I'm still wondering who the frick David is, haha, or why she chose that name. As for my husband, he's always had a hard time going against his mom in anything." Reddit user, KLG replied, "Ask her if David was an affair partner and your husband's real father. You are not the prick. It's not just the name, but the constant brushing you off when corrected. And then the eye roll. She needed something shocking. You need to think of a name other than grandma. Elijah has a grandma, David doesn't. If she calls him David, actively call her by her first name or Mrs. Insert name here." Reddit user, I am not Ben Franklin said, "Yes. Come up with a bad grandma name for her or start referring to her as Mrs. Last name to your baby. For example, you are FaceTiming with her and she calls the baby David. You look at the baby and say Elijah, isn't Mrs. Smith silly? Mrs. Smith doesn't even know your name. That's silly, Mrs. Smith." She will catch on that this is what the baby will call her when he begins to talk. Lol. Reddit user, Tamari said, "I wouldn't give her the respect of Mrs. X. A stupid version of her first name is all she'd get from me." Reddit user, Wary Scientist said, "You wouldn't have had to kick your mother-in-law out if your husband actually stood up and made his mother stop. Also, David isn't a nickname. Eddie would be a nickname." Reddit user, No Chemistry said, "Start calling your husband David. When he starts objecting, throw his mother's attitude, along with his it's harmless response back at him. Then explain until he is fully on board and his mother gets the picture. He, your husband, will be called David." Seriously? The mother-in-law is acting quite immature for insisting to give baby Elijah a different name. As the original poster mentioned, they already had a proper talk with the mother-in-law, but she still did not stop. That would make baby Elijah severely confused hearing him being called David while still learning how to speak. I understand the original poster's grief and why she had to go as far as she had. Even your sister-in-law found it not normal. Don't lose heart. You did the right thing for your child. And whoever else says you did wrong does not understand the extent of the damage it would cause in the future. I wish you the best of luck, OP. Now on to the second story. Am I the prick for being brutally honest to my wife about cheating? By Reddit user Crayon Liquor. So this happened over the past weekend. We were at a party with friends and this question popped up. We essentially had a small never had I ever game, which is pretty childish looking back, but we're all in our later 20s, so it isn't that bad. One of the questions was, never have I ever forgiven a partner for cheating. A few people counted that as something they did, including my wife. I expressed my surprise about it, since I wouldn't expect her of all people to give someone a chance after cheating. Other than that, the night went on just fine and I was driving us home. I don't drink, I hate alcohol. I asked her about the whole situation with forgiving a partner for cheating. In her words, her ex-boyfriend of so many years back cheated on her. He came clean about it and they tried again, but then he went and did it again in the same manner. She said she didn't regret giving him a second chance and would do the same if I happened to cheat. I figure this is just her being drunk. I have no intention of cheating on her. In absence of any answer from me, she asks if I'd do the same for her. I bluntly told her that I wouldn't be able to forgive cheating, nor would I ever expect to be forgiven for cheating if I somehow ended up doing it. Short of physical abuse or other heinous acts, it's the worst thing you can do to someone you love. I don't know what happened to her after that, but she stopped talking the rest of the car ride. Ever since then, she's been dead silent around me. She isn't her usual bubbly self and is withdrawn when I have conversations with her. She avoids any questions about what happened on Saturday night too. I asked our mutual friends about any context I may have missed, and a few of them said that she must have taken it a bit too hard. As in, me not being able to forgive her for hypothetical cheating means I don't love her as much as she loves me. Her two oldest friends kind of implied that I shouldn't have been so blunt about it. Sounds really suspicious. Let's check the comments. Reddit user Cool Relative said, "Not the prick. She's conflating your personal boundaries with your love for her. But personal boundaries and deal breakers are about self-love, not love of another. Not everyone has the same boundaries, and that is always more about the person themselves than other people." Reddit user 2pack said, "Not the prick, this is stupid on her part. Did she cheat and is sad that you wouldn't be willing to forgive her? Does she have the urge to or plan on doing it and hopes you give her another chance? Either way, it doesn't look good. Just because she can forgive a cheater doesn't mean you can or should." Reddit user Flavor Bubbles said, "Exactly. The fact that she's this upset over a hypothetical makes it real suspicious. Like, why is she so pressed about forgiveness unless she's thinking about needing it?" Reddit user All of My Family Hates Me said, "The quiet to me implies she feels guilty. I've had the same conversation with a past partner and she acted the same way. I found out shortly afterwards from another person that she did in fact cheat and got caught by that person. If a person is acting weird after a serious conversation, there is clear signs that person has committed what you spoke about and is now very nervous and walking on eggshells. If the person never did what the conversation was about, there is zero reason to act that way. Body language will rat a person out faster than their words will. Take this info how you will. I never want people to find out the hard way." Reddit user Toadstead said, "Imagine if their little party game was a means of planting the seed of forgiveness for her inevitable being found out. Okay, we'll play a game and all pretend we'd forgive our partners for cheating. He has to do it after that. We all said we would or did." Reddit user Charming Might said, "I could work through cheating depending on the circumstance as long as it was a one-time mistake. My husband is clear it's a very firm deal breaker. It's never bothered me though because I would never cheat. She could be wondering if he doesn't love her as much as she loves him. Her behavior is suspicious though." Reddit user Aware Negotiation, "Probably because deeper down she agrees with the original poster that forgiving a cheater is a mistake, and hearing it out loud from him in regards to her makes it harder for her to reconcile respecting his decision with her own previous choices. Whereas if he had agreed and said he'd forgive her too, it validates her choice to try forgiving her ex back then." Reddit user 2pack said, "The comments saying maybe she realizes that he doesn't love her as much as she loved him are dumb hell. He loves her enough to not cheat on her and be devastated if she cheated on him. In my own opinion, that proves he loves her more if she's feeling this way about his comments." Oh no! My NTR antenna is picking up cheating signals. This sounds like a big sign that she has indeed cheated on the original poster before. He might need to seek for a marriage counselor or therapist as soon as possible. If it does end up deeper and worse than he initially thought, he might need to reconsider their relationship. Because once the seed of doubt and distrust are planted, there is almost no going back. Good luck, original poster, and I hope you can find out the real reason as soon as possible. Next story. Am I the prick for continuously triggering her trypophobia? By Reddit user Eatoids. I, 19F, have had acne for so long that I honestly can't remember my skin without it. I used to wear a lot of concealer to cover it up, but that only made things worse. Eventually, I realized my skin was controlling my life and draining my bank account, so when I started at a new school, I decided to stop wearing makeup. My skin still isn't great, but I'm on medication, so I have some hope that it will improve. Here's the problem. There's a girl in my class, let's call her Callie, 8F, who has trypophobia. I had no idea until we were put in a group together. The moment I spoke to her, she started crying. Naturally, I asked what was wrong, and she screamed at me that my face was triggering her trypophobia. Her friends immediately jumped in to comfort her while I just sat there, confused, wondering if I was supposed to apologize for my skin, something I obviously didn't choose to have. When I tried to speak again, she told me to shut up and leave because I was drawing attention to myself by talking. I asked what she expected me to do about it, and she said I could at least wear concealer. I explained that it wasn't an option because it's expensive and just worsens my acne. Her friends glared at me and called me selfish. That was just the first incident. Ever since, anytime I sit near Callie or have to present in front of the class, she starts dry heaving or crying, having a panic attack. It's disrupting lessons so much that my teacher pulled me aside and asked if I could just wear concealer for the sake of keeping the peace. She admitted it wasn't fair, but said she couldn't think of another solution. I already feel like such a freak because of my skin. I know my skin is horrid, but why am I the one expected to cater to Callie? I didn't choose to have acne any more than she chose to have trypophobia. I can't help but feel like I'm being unfairly treated here, but at the same time, I know she can't control her reaction either. So, am I the prick? Should I just wear the damn concealer? Time for the comment section. Reddit user Local Disaster said, if her mental health is fragile enough that she reacts this way because someone near her has skin that isn't smooth enough, this is a situation where she should be seeking intensive therapy, not pushing you to accommodate her. She can't control the skin and makeup habits of every single person she might ever run into. Even if you cave, there will always be people who exist out in the world with skin that has pimples on it. They are literally pressuring you to make your medical condition worse instead of her putting in the work to make hers better. Absolutely not the prick, do not give in here. Reddit user Matt Davey said, she needs to be moved to the special education department if she can't handle a normal classroom. Reddit user Asleep Temporary. Trypophobia is not even a recognized mental disorder. Reddit user Majestic Unicorn said, because it isn't one. It's an aversion, not a phobia. This one probably lies off Google, saw something to pretend to have, and uses it to be dramatic and pathetic for attention. Reddit user Top Ad said, not the prick. Report the teacher. I'm a teacher and I'd never ever consider saying something so fucking ridiculous. Report Callie for bullying and harassment because, let's face it, that's what this is now. She wants you to make your skin worse and probably more painful so she's at ease? Fuck that. Tell her to stop staring. She's 100% in charge of her behavior and her reaction. Time to step up and put an end to this. The original poster replied, who should I report this to? If she's pretending, how do I prove that? Top Ad replied, principal or a head teacher. Board of Governors. I'm not sure where you are, so I don't know what you'd call them, but whoever is the head of the school or college. Reddit user Hail or Shine said, yep, start with the head of the school, and if that doesn't help, go from there. But I think it probably will help. There's no way the teacher's response is appropriate and that they're within their rights to tell any student they have to wear makeup. Tell the principal or head teacher your next step is the board and the media because student forced to wear makeup by her teacher because other students are bullying her for her skin, and the teacher doesn't want to address the bullying is a story many media outlets would love to run with. Also, if Callie was really this averse to seeing people with acne, she wouldn't be able to go to the supermarket or crowded venues or basically anywhere. OP needs to report the teacher for this suggestion and Callie for bullying and attempting to hinder her education. If she's really this bad, She should be able to produce evidence of other times she's bullied people because she can't deal with her problem. But she can't because she can control herself. She's choosing to make a scene so P feels bad. She is 1000% doing this on purpose because Callie is a bully, and the original poster needs to make it clear that she will be telling the world about Callie's behavior. Not gonna lie, I have never heard of that kind of phobia before. It does look like that person should really have an assessment if they are fit to join in a normal class environment or to join a special education system. If she really is mentally triggered by very little things, it would be best to treat them right away. But if my suspicions are right that she is just using it as an excuse to get sympathy and or to pick on the original poster, the school should do something about it. The previous commenter is right, the original poster should ask help from a guidance counselor, the teachers or the principal. I do hope the original poster find a resolution or justice for her situation. Here we go to the last story for today. Am I the prick for warning my sister that if she won't shut up about what she wants me to name my child, then we'll need some time apart? By Reddit user Noya. My sister, 30F, and I, 26F, have usually been pretty close, but during my pregnancy she has been pushing boundaries over the name of my child. My sister gave birth to her son George a few months ago. It was during the time our pregnancies overlapped that she became obsessed with this idea that if I had a girl I should name her Charlotte, and then we'd have a George and a Charlotte. She's obsessed with all things Bridgerton, so that's where her inspiration comes from. That and how she likes classic vintage names. My sister likes older names anyway, and she has been a little opinionated on names I liked in the past. Before either of us were pregnant, I had expressed that a little girl we met had a cute name Meadow, and she was like, OMG no, and that's not the kind of name we should ever consider for our future kids. Another time after our cousin had a baby and she named him Dix, I said how much I loved it. Afterward my sister was asking me why I'd lie, and I told her I didn't and I really loved the name. Even with stuff like that happening occasionally, she didn't fixate on it. But now, totally different. At the very start she told me I should choose a vintage name for a baby like Ethel, Evelyn or Arthur, Theodore. I told her I wasn't looking for name ideas and wouldn't discuss them with anyone but my husband. Then when she had decided on George for her son, she told me I needed to name my baby Charlotte if she's a girl. She wants me to use Edmund for a boy because of another Bridgerton character. I told her we weren't discussing names. But she kept bringing it up, and then she asked me what I was going to name my baby, and I said it wasn't something we were talking about until after baby is here and we're ready to announce. In reality, we're between two girls' names right now, with Lyra slightly winning right now. I know my sister won't like the name, and I'm not telling her in advance so she can double down even harder on the idea of Charlotte. But all this interference from my sister is pissing me off. I have changed the subject, walked away and hung up on her, and it still doesn't stop her. So the other day when she brought it up again, I told her to stop. That I don't want to repeat myself anymore. But if she won't shut up about the name Charlotte or what she wants me to name my child, then we'll need some time apart and I won't answer any calls or go anywhere she is. I told her I mean it. That she's pushing too much when this baby is not hers. She told me I was overreacting and it would be petty to stop talking to her over baby names. I told her it's not about the names themselves but the way she keeps trying to tell me what to name my child. I told her I didn't do this to her. Her response was I was acting like a kid instead of an adult. Am I the prick? Now for the comments. Reddit user Mr. Sanjuro said, "It would be petty to stop talking over baby names. It would not be petty to stop talking over having an established boundary stomped on again and again because she can't let it go. Not the prick." The original poster said, "Thank you. It's not cutting her off because she suggested a baby name, but she's forcing it on me despite me laying out boundaries for that. And I'm pretty sure I'll be following through on the promise. But if that's what it takes, then I just gotta do that." Reddit user Unicorn Hair said, "You know what I noticed? When you said she asked me why I would lie about loving the name Dex, she doesn't even consider you a separate person with your own opinions, ideas, likes, and dislikes. It didn't even enter her mind that you would like the name Dex. She doesn't even recognize there could be any truth beyond what she likes. She didn't ask if you lied. She asked why. She auto-assumed she had to be right. It screams self-absorption and a lack of empathy or recognition of others' individuality. I think some distance might be a good idea." Reddit user I Buy Cheese on Sale said, "I don't think she sees the babies as actual people right now, either. Sounds like she's playing here's hoping she doesn't take it too hard when the babies don't follow her script." Reddit user Forever Forgettable said, Not THR prick. You have already told her your boundaries, now follow through with the consequences. Stop engaging with her at all, even if only for a week. The only way she will learn is by experiencing the consequences of not behaving, much like a child. Which is funny considering she accused you of behaving like one when it is she who is currently the embodiment of a toddler. Reddit user, Koalas and Penguins said, "Not the prick. This is exactly why we're not telling anyone our kid's name in advance. My 5-year-old is calling this baby Speck, and we're okay with that. We will announce the birth and name after pictures are done and legal docs are submitted. My mom and MIL hate it, but we really don't care. Their suggestions are so awful." Reddit user, Okay Brilliant said, "Not the prick. I also love classic names like Charlotte, with Lottie as a nickname, but I would never in 1,000 years push my ideas of how I name my children onto others. Lyra is a beautiful name." I can see the original poster's frustration on the situation. It is always fun and cute to talk about what to name their children, but forcing someone else to name their child according to her taste and preference is just utterly selfish on the sister's part. She should know her boundaries and when to stop stepping over the line before she starts pushing people away from her. Mrs. Original Poster, you are not in the wrong. Your decision to keep distance is the best solution for both of you. If needed, get your husbands or parents involved and have a proper chat. If she still insists she has the right to name your child, you better stay away from her for good. That is a flag that she might try to make your child hers in the future and possibly manipulate them to go against you. Stay strong and stand firm, Original Poster. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I had. Subscribe for more stories and what other people say about it. Oh, and tell me your thoughts on the comment section below. Come again and visit me next time, okay? Have an amazing rest of your day.